100 years too late. Time travel took scientists generations to complete, but we had finally created something capable of going forward and backwards through time. And human testing was next. As the very first person to achieve time travel, I was nervous. I waved goodbye to all of my friends, smiled for the cameras, and stepped into the time machine. It was a large, gray box covered with wires and gizmos, each taking years to perfect. I set my destination, exactly 100 years forward. And as the door closed and energy surged, I closed my eyes. And when I reopened them, I was in hell. Everything in the future was covered in a fine layer of ash. Burnt bodies and the horrid smell of smoke littered the area. Everybody was dead. Everything was dead. In my terror, I tried to reach for the controls to go straight back home. However, I was horrified to find they too were smoking burned up from the force of traveling through the timeline. I was devastated. I had seemingly skipped straight through the apocalypse and landed into a realm where everything was gone. And I had no way to get back, to warn anyone. What could I do? I traversed the area for what felt like weeks. I could barely find any trace of what was once here, other than blackened debris and corpses. I theorized it was from a meteor impact, or maybe a solar flare, but I just couldn't tell. I realized I had to return home somehow. I had my own part in building the time machine. I could fix it if I tried. I couldn't even remember how much time it took me, how little I slept, how little I ate from the emergency rations I thankfully had the intelligence to bring with me. At long last, I saw a flicker of life come back to the scathed controls. Gasping, I ran back inside the time machine without a second thought and plotted my destination with shaky hands. Over 100 years ago. Plus 30 minutes. If I had just 30 minutes, I could warn myself, of what I saw in the future. As the door closed and energy surged, I closed my eyes. And when I reopened them, I was in hell. Another scorched landscape. Another grisly sight. But how? How could the apocalypse still be here hadn't I traveled through time properly? I looked down at the bodies. And my blood ran cold. Cameras. In ruins, yes, but I could just barely recognize the debris. They were the cameras the news used to record me as I left my timeline. I looked at the time machine, at its burning controls. And I realized just how much energy would be unleashed from a 100-year jump, possibly enough to end a planet on impact. And I fell to my knees and began to sob as I realized that I could never return home if I tried. Because I was the apocalypse.